It looks like we're recording.
Good.
Hi, guys. The three moms have decided to hold up the table today.
I think it's the other way around.
Well,
yes, we needed something to lean on. Sometimes you just need to lean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're feeling very lean.
Yes, leaning on people today.
Leanish. We're very leanish today.
Yes. So, welcome to the broadcast.
Hi.
So I guess we should start with the follow-up from last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we hit a nerve.
We did hit a nerve.
There was a definite nerve that was hit with that one. Mm-hmm. Talking about lovely men in really awful relationships. So
yes.
And I love that we hit a nerve. Because that was kind of the point, which
mm-hmm.
is that so many men either refuse to acknowledge that there's abuse or they honestly don't know, I think. Some of them are just, this is the way life is. There's always going to be this level of discomfort, of pain, of friction in my relationship, and that's not the way it has to be.
No.
So,
not at all.
Yeah, if we can get some guys to take a deep reflective look at themselves and what's around them,
what they're in relationships, the relationships that they're in, and acknowledge the good parts. That hey, it's maybe not so bad, but also recognize that maybe this is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we had a couple contact us privately about.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hadn't really realized this. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing. I like seeing that because life is short, and this is not a dress rehearsal, regardless of whether or not you consider an after life. We do this once.
Yeah.
And this once should not be lived in pain and suffering.
Yeah.
We have enough of that just from the world. Your partner should be there to help lessen it, not make it worse.
Yeah.
So
split the load, not make it bigger.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I love that you guys feel that you can reach out to us and talk because there's so many of you that I would just like to hug you because
it's like,
you need it.
Uh-huh.
And that's the thing is that we support. I mean, we support each other, we support our friends, and we lean on this table and it supports us. And sometimes we need support too, but that's everybody needs support sometimes. And if you aren't getting it and you need it and you're just in free fall, then reach out.
Yep, because we're here.
Mm-hmm. We are, and we're all happy to talk. For whatever reason, just
If you need someone to give you an example of outrage, I'm really good at that.
She's good at that.
I mean, if you say, well, this is going on, and I'm like, what? It's a pretty good indication that what's going on is not so good. So, but
she's good for a gut check.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that. So
and sometimes that's what I know. I've needed that several times recently, and I've kind of walked in and been like, okay, guys, what?
And my response is, please allow me to demonstrate the outrage you should be feeling at this moment. So,
and I've had moments of, okay, check me on this. Am I mad for a reason, or am I just and sometimes yes, you're just being mad, and sometimes it's no, this is terrible, and you should be more mad.
Okay.
How long have you been putting up with this for?
What?
So
yes, it's a good thing. So
yes.
So thank you, and do share that about if you have friends that are having a hard time because they don't deserve that.
Yeah.
So.
And before too long, it'll be available as an audio only on Spotify, right?
So I'm getting her. I'm getting the back issues of the broadcast up. They're going up through Anchor, which means everywhere we have Anchor distributes, we'll have our podcast.
Yes.
I know for sure they'll be on Spotify. They should be on Amazon and Apple, and I'm working on getting all those out.
I know that the podcatcher that I use does get them, because it feeds in from Anchor.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it is because I haven't been using it a lot recently. So I use Overcast.
Okay.
And it catches it. So, but we're trying to get them put up as podcasts so that people can listen in. I know that some people like the video, but there's a lot of people that like to just listen to content.
Yeah. So I am working on getting the back issues up, and we'll hopefully be able to keep up going forward. It is a process that. It's a process. That as we upgrade equipment, I'll be able to do slightly faster.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Little bits at a time.
A little bit at a time. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
We like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's one of those things that we're growing. We're not growing as fast as Raconteur Press, but...
That explains my hips. Thank you.
Anyway. That's a whole other But BroadCast was always one of those kind of spur of the moment, let's try this. And
we seem to have an affinity for projects like that. Why? Let's just try this out and see what happens. How many episodes later?
3 very creative people.
Yes.
Yeah. So
who have a habit of just going for it. We do not dither.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Well,
sometimes.
For this, the cost of entry into this was basically just our time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like, why not? Let's give it a try.
Let's just do it.
And have some fun. And
clearly you guys are paying attention. We're not really sure why sometimes, but
but apparently we're doing fairly well for a broadcast, for a podcast, which is
I think we've been fearlessly taking on some topics that evidently people really needed based on the feedback.
Well, and part of it too is that I don't have any filter at all, and
which is one of the fun and lovely things about you.
Well, but I mean, if there's just a point you reach in life where you just don't care anymore, and you turn 40, and I was like, be prepared for set of filters fall out. So,
oh my God, and did they? Yeah.
So, but it's just like...
So do more Fallout when I turn 50?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, oh, yeah. That's something to look forward to then.
So, I'm turning 60 this year, so I'm wondering what else could fall out?
Don't start losing pieces.
No. Well, some pieces I wouldn't mind leaving, but it's okay. But still, I mean, I think we just talk about stuff because that's just who we are. And really, guys, it'd be so great if you could just hang out in the shop with us because we talk about all kinds of weird stuff in the shop.
Oh, yeah.
I guess this is just, us at the Blanket Fort, you get a little hour of us being like we are all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fun. So.
Yeah, and we are not shallow people, although we do have strangely shallow conversations sometimes. But
we're tired. Nobody wants to.
No, but it's...
Why are there no ho-hos in the shop?
Because Courtney ate the last ones.
Courtney ate the last ones. And she didn't replace them. So, yeah.
I didn't know you wanted them.
Well, I didn't know they were there.
Stock some cookies.
I mean, it's like... I mean, people send us hot ramen and hot sauces, which I can't eat. Nobody sends me cookies.
Yeah.
Don't say that, then there'll be cookies.
Well, yeah. I'm hint.
You can send Oreos. Oreos are really good.
No, Hydrox.
The Hydrox. No,
Hydrox.
The case of Hydrox
cookies
was fabulous.
Anyway, but
Yes.
Anyway, but
we're fans.
So, in it's kind of a weird wander day, isn't it?
It is. And actually, we're talking about cookies, and I'm thinking about, I did a grocery pickup yesterday at 7 o'clock in the morning, which was a really good time to do grocery pickup because I pulled up and they brought it out to me and I going away again. There was no waiting around and crowd to deal with. But they were out of stock on butter, so I didn't get the butter I needed.
Yeah.
So I may have to run out tomorrow when I run out and pay the kids' college bill. I may have to pick up butter.
There are worse things.
There are worse things in life, yes.
And if you get it with just the butter, then...
I won't.
You won't. I never do either.
Especially not if I walk in there and I have the boy with me. That'll take a $50 grocery trip right up to about $150.
Yeah.
There's a reason I don't go in grocery stores.
Yeah.
Besides not wanting to hate little old ladies driving carts erratically down the aisles. So.
Well, they make me crazy.
Even before the pandemic, because I had no time.
Yeah, there's no time.
As soon as the grocery pickup thing became an option, I started using it. Not all the time. And then, of course, lockdown, and I was using it all the time.
They just bring it to me. I'm so lazy, I won't even go to them to get it.
There were always delivery fees involved with that because of where we lived in Ohio.
Consider it worthwhile.
It's worth your time.
So, and there's if you do it at certain times, there isn't a delivery fee.
Oh, I'll have
right?
to check that out.
So, I mean, that to me was like, this is like a hermit's dream.
And for me, it's less of the hermit and more of the I'm tired and I have no time, and going and walking through the store to get everything, even if I know the layout of the store and I can do targeted shopping of you start here and you go to there, and if you forget something and miss it, you don't go back and get it.
Well, and then they rearrange the store, which just makes me inordinately angry. So yeah, I'm just, I had the 20 years of having to go buy groceries for the family and do all this, take the kid and deal with the little old ladies talking in the aisle and not moving, and I just
and now you don't have to.
And now I don't have to.
Right.
So I don't.
Yeah.
I have been impressed with the variety of stuff I can order from Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
So,
no.
yeah.
So now that we've discussed a major irritation in our lives.
I actually like grocery shopping, so I know it's very weird
I
for
used
a lot
to.
of people.
I used to enjoy it. Now I'm like, whatever, just give me the English muffins and get away from me.
I like grocery shopping if I have the energy and the time, because it's fun you find new and different things that you wouldn't expect.
That's true. But when you don't cook, it's just a chore in like, just go to the freezer section. So
I miss Jungle Gyms in Ohio, because that store, they had everything. So
yeah,
and I miss that sometimes.
I miss the used food store.
We
had a place called Grocery Outlet.
I was going to say, explain used food, because that doesn't sound good.
I shopped at Grocery Outlet in Washington. That was fantastic.
So it was a store that gets like Aldi's, but it gets seconds and things that didn't sell that are close to expiration.
Okay.
And you never knew what you would find there.
Yeah.
So it was more of an adventure shop than it was an actual like real grocery store. So I could go there, and in their freezer section, you could get burritos that are normally like $6 a bag. You could get them for like $2.
Yeah.
So because they were frozen burritos, they have an expiration. Really, it's like Himalayan salt having an expiration date. It's like, what?
Salt's ridiculous, but burritos freezer burn is a thing.
But it wasn't that bad. So I could go and stock up on things really cheaply, and I'd get weird things that were interesting. And like, well, look at this. Who knew you could get cheesy mayo spread? It's like, I'm going to take that home. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But I always called it the used food store, because it was food that was had left the store it was in.
Yes, and gone to another store.
So
I used to call the discount meat section the used meat section.
Yeah. Well, that brings up completely different connotations.
Well, I've spent most of my adult life either working in grocery stores or working in grocery stores.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I walk in and it's like, okay, so I know where everything is. It takes me like 2 minutes to figure out the layout of the store, and then I know where this is supposed to be, where this is supposed to be on the shelf.
Yeah.
It's not an adventure. It's a
job.
It's a job. I know where everything is. But it's also makes me a lot more comfortable than I think most people are with the local grocery store. So
I'm just like,
even when they change the layout and where everything is, I still know what they changed it to.
Yeah.
Because there's only so many different layouts you can do.
Yeah, it also used to be my respite away from my child. I could leave her at home. It's like, I have to go to the grocery store. And I'd go and I'd be there for hours in the magazine section, but there's not magazine sections anymore.
No, it's 4 feet long and it's pain.
It's mirrors.
Johanna asked me to go through the book section at Walmart the other day, and I don't know what he was looking for. He didn't find it, whatever it was, but I was happy to go into the book section because I was really curious. I had deliberately gone into the book section at Walmart for years, and it was interesting because it wasn't very well stocked.
No.
And I mean, there was lots of space, but it wasn't filled, and there was stuff that was like, it had obviously been moved around and then just dumped by whoever. But I shouldn't have been surprised to see like manga, but they had quite a good selection of manga, which my son actually looked at several of them. But it was mostly like romances and kids books and like a few of what are probably the top sellers right now in books. I'm not tapped into that anymore, not being in the library, and I don't pay attention to them because they were never what I wanted to read. So, but I thought it was really interesting to walk through that section and kind of look at it with the eyes of publisher and author. And
it's an interesting experience to go through and do that, isn't it?
Well, and the other thing, when I went to get my haircut, the lady that was cutting my hair was having a conversation with the gentleman that was cutting another lady's hair. And our chairs were like right next to each other, so the two of them are talking. And he was fun. He was just like very, very perky and chipper, and the lady cutting my hair was much more laid back and just like chill. So, but the two of them are going back and forth about what they're reading right now.
Oh.
Which I loved hearing this, and they're batting back and forth these different things, and so I asked, because I'm like, so how are you reading? And so they do a lot of audiobooks, and they do Kindle books that they check out from the library system, and sometimes physical books, but they both prefer audiobooks.
Okay.
Because they can do those while they're doing other things.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much of that is going on. I mean, there's a Jordan Peterson lecture that I went to in Portland where he talked about this being a Gutenberg moment where people can intake information through audio so much better, and will. I mean, you know, and Sandra who's a truck driver, she was telling me about, audiobooks just make her life so much better.
Well, and audiobooks for truck drivers have been a thing for decades. I mean, I can remember cassette, these huge cassette things. Yeah. And you could rent them in one truck station and return them to another one because it was one franchise throughout, like, I don't know how much of the country. I saw them
incredibly cool.
Yeah, I saw them in New England. But I'm assuming that they were all across.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember them being very heavily weighted towards, like, Louis L'Amour, and I'm trying to remember what all. But it was that kind of thing, like Westerns and, like, I want to say Webb Griffin's books, so more of the military kind of thing. So definitely more masculine.
Historical, naval battle type things.
Master and Commander. So yeah, that was interesting. Bernard Cornwell was another one I can remember specifically noticing. So there's always been a market for the audiobook, but it was much more niche. And then recently, it seems like it's just exploded.
But it's a huge thing. So, I mean, Jack was beating on us about getting our audio figured out.
Working on that.
Podcasts, which we're doing it, Jack. So
we're working. See, Jack, I did podcasts today, so we'll get that fixed.
But no, it's true though. I mean, it's interesting that they're so focused on audio. You know?
Yeah.
So
Well, it's one of the things with all the driving we've done. You know,
my Lord. Yes.
And when I was going back and forth to Denver every once a month, I would go through audiobooks constantly, and I'll still put them on when I'm doing the dishes or when I'm cleaning, cleaning stuff in the house.
It's weird. It's one thing I have not gotten into is audiobooks.
I do very little audiobooks, but I used to do a lot of podcasts.
Yeah, I'm not doing podcasts either.
And some long-form podcasts. The hardcore history podcasts are great, but man, he packs a lot.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the whole Maps of Meaning, Jordan Peterson, which I think I've listened to the whole set 3 times now, and every single time it's like, wait, stop.
Because you have to stop and listen and back up and do stuff. And you like to listen to the really crunchy stuff.
I like really crunchy things, which means I can't listen to it while I'm doing something else. So.
And so I had tried to listen to the new series that he's been doing.
While
I'm working, and I can't.
Yeah, same
because
problem.
I want to listen to him, and I'm supposed to be doing work.
I know, exactly.
I had to go back to fluffy stuff.
I had to stop and go, nope, this is not going to work because so it's.
Yeah, well,
it is interesting.
A lot of what I listen to is so I don't do horror except for the one the horror anthology podcast I'm listening to called Old Gods of Appalachia.
Ooh,
which is really cool. And there's a role-playing game that I just downloaded the PDF for it like last week. Because I backed the Kickstarter like a year ago. And it's really cool. It's Old Gods of Appalachia.
Somebody brought up Manly Wade Wellman in Silverjohn just recently, and I went because I couldn't remember if I owned a copy of Silverjohn. I should need to go into my Bain account and see if I do. And I couldn't. Silverjohn doesn't seem to be available on Kindle. No. So I picked up some of his other stuff, but yeah, the whole Appalachian and thing is something that you don't see a lot of.
No, which is why I was like, this was really fascinating to me. So I've listened through the whole thing, and then there was the Thrilling Adventure Hour. which actually they've stopped doing it's ended. They've done all the stories, but there's one that's the ranger on Mars who's actually from Earth, and it's like old time radio show.
Oh, I love old time radio shows.
Yeah, old time science fiction.
Oh yeah, they've got the space ranger who's on Mars, and his Martian companion who's basically Tonto. Yeah. The Nick and Nora.
Oh yeah.
They who fight monsters and ghosts.
Oh.
And they and they constantly have a drink and like clink, darling. And it's so oh my god, it's so funny. But they've got like all these different.
You just gave me another anthology idea.
Oh, I know.
It's
I know.
Terrible.
The thing is, I need to go through because I listened to it all the way through, and I need to go through and listen to it again because there's so much in it, and with us doing the Space Cowboys and the Pinup Noir and all of that, like that would be something like if you want to go for comedy, the whole thing is comedy.
Yeah.
But it's in the style of like 30s and 40s,
Yeah.
Well, there was one of my interns that I had for a month in my shop back in Oregon. She was working out in the warehouse pretty much by herself, and I was doing endless paperwork because paperwork. She was listening to a broadcast that broadcast the D&D game. The guy was running.
Critical Role?
I don't know if it was Critical Role or not, but it's one that she'd been listening to for almost 2 years. The same game for almost 2 years. And so she gave me some of the backstory, and I got completely involved in it. It was just like, wait a minute, so and it ended while she was doing, and she was just bereft because her game was done.
Because I know my kids listened to a D&D game that was being played, and it was like a father and sons that did, and I listened to a couple episodes because the kids really wanted me to, and not enough to get sucked into it, but it was fun because they were like doing voices, and there was and they'd do the role playing, but then they'd pop out and just be themselves and like back chatter between them, so it was kind of fun to listen to.
It is.
And I haven't caught Critical Role because I know if I get sucked into that, I'm going to be just entirely in.
Yep.
And actually know people who run it, and it's very weird how there's connection.
In a small fandom.
Very,
that's why.
The world is this big. The world is really this big.
We got to do that today with someone asked for help in North Texas Troublemakers, and a few tags later, we were able to resolve the issue, hopefully.
Yeah, it was great because we have a wonderful community of people who do stuff like that.
Speaking of which, I'm going to check and make sure that
sure they're all okay.
Because I wound up...
we have built a wonderful community of people who just reach out and help.
All right. It's going off smoothly. Everything's going to be okay.
Excellent.
So,
yay. So airport transfer achieved. So
yes.
Yeah.
When someone and her young daughter have been traveling for 2 days already, just trying to make things smooth as possible is we're going to do this.
But we can do that.
And that's the thing is because we have these great connections.
We do.
And what was so funny was hearing the same story from two different sides. Like I'd heard the story that I heard this last weekend that just made me go, oh, I have to tell the people involved, which I'm not at liberty to talk about just a moment, but I can reference it. Like I'd heard the story at LTUE 8 years ago.
Okay.
And then I heard the other person's side of it this weekend. I'm like, I know this story.
Oh, that's right. I know what you're talking about.
Right?
It's really cool.
It's a really cool story. I'm hoping that there's like a part 2 to it later. Anyways, the plans are in the works.
Are afoot.
Plans are afoot. But it's really cool. Like, world is this big.
Yeah,
it is. The world is very small.
And the more people we meet, the more things we learn, the more people we know. It's like it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and at the same time wider. Because
here's the thing: is that we had this big falling out in science fiction in science fiction groups, where everybody knew everybody, and everybody went to BroadCast and everything was great. And then we had this split because of ridiculous politics and bullshit, and it was a lot of us felt very lost because we were pushed out of the whatever. We're like, wow, guys, thanks.
It's like I thought I was part of this, and obviously
it's like
I'm
I've been
not.
around for this many years, and you're telling me I'm part of the evil. Thanks.
Yeah.
But something I've noticed in the last 6 to 8 years, and I think some of it started at LTUE, is several communities, and LibertyCon is a big part of this.
Yeah.
Several communities of publishers and writers have started to all kind of come together in a separate mass of community that spans the country, and spans several publishers and several groups of authors, and there's like the Utah gang, and then there's the North Texas gang, and then there's the LibertyCon gang, and some of the East Coast folks, and there's this group is becoming, all these smaller communities as they find each other, becoming a larger society.
Yeah.
That is separate from all the strife, because we just want to have fun.
Yeah.
And we want to help each other, and we want to return to that feel, and it's been building, but I think it's now hitting momentum.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because in any fair universe, Chuck Gannon would have like 5 Hugos.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, any fair universe, 5 Hugos, hands down, because, oh my God, his books were just astonishingly good. Martin Shoemaker would have Nebulas and Hugos.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But what they have instead is an entire community that appreciates them and gives them the best reward ever, which is the dollars.
Yes.
So, but there's also this taking care of each other and supporting each other, not backbiting and go you kind of thing.
Yeah. And we've worked hard at that.
Well, we've worked hard because a bunch of different groups decided to start working on that kind of all around the same time.
Yep.
We don't need that. We can go over there and do this and have a good time.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to watch that happen. And the interconnectedness of people trying to help each other, not just with writing, but with, can you get a ride to here, and I need someplace to crash, and can we do this, and wow, we're stuck in so-and-so, can somebody send money? It's like, it's like, well,
we're stuck at Motel 5.5 and my car has gone missing.
Not go there.
So
No, but we can do that. We've been able to do that with a variety of different people.
Yeah.
And recreate that initial, what I experienced when I first came into science fiction of community. And it's another little bit of it's like, hey, can somebody go pick up so-and-so? Yes, sure, we got it. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
And it's commonplace now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really kind of, it's commonplace.
And it's really nice to see
Yeah,
and be able to watch it.
Yeah.
And to know, and I know that like as we meet more people and as we go to more places, like we went to Imaginarium and
that was so much fun.
And we're having a grand old time, and we just set up our spot in the bar.
Yep.
And people started bringing new authors to us and said, "Hey, I met this really cool person. She's working on her first book. You need to meet her." I'm like, "Cool."
That was the best.
And like 15 minutes later, she's having
a baby author.
But people were like, "You guys are awesome. This person is also awesome. They don't know anything about you, so you have to meet them." So people are bringing others to us.
Yeah.
To be part of the community and to get them involved in what we're doing.
We have somebody where you live. We can hook up with them. So
and there's a lot of that. It's or someone's looking for a job. Because I know,
right?
That's become a regular thing in the Monster Hunter community.
Yeah, they did a Monster Hunter job post.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow,
that was incredibly cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Incredibly cool because networking.
Right, and I got involved in that because I'm in a situation where I'm not really looking, but in about 6 months I gotta have something.
Yeah.
So
you put it out there and you find out.
Yeah, and doing the long, slow process of building networking, and especially when you're talking about a clan of introverted geeks, getting them to network, letting them know it's okay to network. I have been dealing with that in a couple of places where very young, very insecure people are like, "Oh, I don't want to be a bother." And I'm
okay, I'm going to tell you there's nothing new about that from going to conventions way back when in the dark ages of time, where you actually had to go to the convention and figure out how to get into the party, and you didn't have a picture of who that particular, what they could look like, but it's not a skill that geeky people possess.
It's hard.
Online makes it easier.
Yes, it does. So. It really does.
Although what's funny is that some of the people who are like, "Oh, I don't want to be a burden," and ask them this question, I'm like, no, you go over and you push play, and you kind of steer them in the direction you want them to go, and they will not shut up for 2 or 3 hours.
Yes.
So you have to teach the little baby authors, okay, you want to go ask them this question, you go push play on this topic,
we'll
and they will get there eventually.
Yes. Show them where the button is. And then ask this question about 10 minutes in, and you'll be good. So.
Yeah. I mean, so someone comes to me and goes, "Oh, let's do this." Like, "Oh, that's great. So how do you do your keywords?" Oh!
ask me about keywords. It needs to be across her chest.
Yeah.
So
that can be arranged.
It's like, I do sex therapy. Please don't.
Okay, maybe we don't want to make that one.
I don't want that one either.
no.
No, it's one of those things that just kind of like ends up happening. Like, tell me your life story 2 hours later. Fascinating. So have you checked this? Have you go get these tests done?
Can I have that one? I mean, I could hand off this is my horrible experience with that publisher ones to you.
Oh, please do.
Can we trade?
We can trade.
Okay.
I'm absolutely willing to trade.
And mine is send me a picture of that weird plant and I'll tell you what it is.
Yes.
Or bugs.
Or bugs.
I've seen the bugs.
No, it's Kathy. Kathy gets the bugs.
Kathy gets the bugs.
It's like, I really need to work on my cover, Cedar.
Yes. And it doesn't even necessarily be hire Cedar. It says she will give you feedback if you poke the right button.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've done that a couple of times in the Discord where we've workshopped covers because baby author that couldn't maybe afford a whole cover design. But if you'll let me use you as a teaching example, then you'll wind up with a cover at the end of this.
Yeah. Well, I've done that with keywords and categories for some authors. We'll do if we get Dorothy in the right mood, we post a blurb and she'll come and fix it.
I was going to say, I did this to Jonna because Jonna asked me how to do something, and I wound up, by the time I'd created the document to be able to walk her through even if I'm not available, I'm like, oh, what the heck, that one's going on Mad Genius because more than us will need it. So we might as well make it available.
Yeah, it was, and it's coming out this next weekend, right?
Yes.
I had how do I do that on WordPress? Because I don't know how.
Right.
Which needed to happen.
WordPress is one of those things that a lot of people find it really intimidating, but it's not. It's actually a lot easier than any of the other website backends that I've dealt with.
Yeah, when you have a brain.
But
present.
The other thing about WordPress is that just about 2-3 years ago, somewhere in that range, my memory, it did some major changes.
Yeah,
and that threw a lot of people for a loop.
Well, I knew WordPress from before, and so now it's like...
And you can, if you're self-hosted with WordPress, you can install a plugin called Classic Editor that'll roll you back to what it was. So if you're used to that...
Can I do that at the grocery store?
I don't know, I kind of like this, order it online, just go pick it up, or have it delivered.
I just don't even want to go in. So, I mean, new product placement must be a real bear in the when you come to deliver. I'm sorry.
It's so fun.
Let's just skip that.
My favorite thing is like I would go in with my toolbox, and that was my job. That was literally my job, was to go and change the store around for people, and people would get so mad at me.
They get so mad at you,
and I couldn't help but laugh. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I realized that this is going to be a gigantic pain in the ass. And then then after I got out of that business into something else, and then I would go grocery shopping, like, God damn it, they moved my stuff. And I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, now we understand.
The one downside to the online thing is that occasionally they'll tell me something is out of stock, and I'm like, I know it's not out of stock.
And they'll send you a picture, like what's it's acceptable on this thing. Like, I will go and circle the item that I ordered right there.
I've never gotten the picture. I just get the here's your substitution options, and I'm like, really? You want me to substitute that with that? No,
that does not work. Well, what I loved is I would do my order for when I worked at King Soopers in Colorado, and I would place my order on my lunch break, and I had to pick up after I got off of work. And I knew the people, and they knew that it was my order, so if they needed to substitute something, they'd come and grab me, and I'd be like, oh no, it's actually, so I know it's not on the shelf, but you have to go to the dairy cooler to go get the thing I need. And so I would just hand that to them, like, oh, I guess we could do that. Like, yeah, you guys could talk to Charles about the stuff that's not on the shelf yet. Yeah, just saying.
Yes, there you go.
But no, that's because I didn't want to spend an hour after work shopping because I'd been there for 10 hours already. So
you don't want to be there more.
That's why I started doing grocery pickup, is because I just didn't. And with 4 kids, whenever I had to go grocery shopping and take all of them with me, it was a nightmare.
Oh God, no.
And there were times, because I was a single mother, that not taking them all with me wasn't an option.
Yeah.
But even now, when I had the teenagers, they'd want to go to the grocery with me if I was going to be going in. And so if I was going to go and do a pickup, then they wouldn't come with me. So,
yes. They couldn't add stuff to the cart, like, oh,
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, now, Johan, if he knows I'm doing an order on the computer, he'll come in and hang over my shoulder and be like, can we put this in and that in?
hand me your wallet and we can talk about that.
Yeah.
So, my kid threw a temper tantrum once in the grocery store because she wanted something, and she was like screaming in the grocery cart. I love those videos where the moms had temper tantrums on the floor. I mean, I didn't do that. I just took her out of the cart, screaming and yelling, and put her on the ground, where she promptly threw herself on the floor carefully because there was no carpet. And I rolled away. I just left her there. And she got up and ran up and fell down in front of the cart, not unlike Henry when he was howling at us in the morning, the cat.
Just outside the door because he will not come in anymore because he's afraid of the freaking towel.
Yeah.
It works.
Afraid of the towel on the floor. But no, I mean, I just kept leaving her there, and she's like, and I said, screaming doesn't work. Just get what you want. Give it up.
I can remember, and I don't remember anymore which one of them it was, but because I had 3 that were all little all at the same time.
I can't even imagine that.
We had a screaming tantrum, and I basically just abandoned the cart and went out to the car and went home. We didn't get anything.
Nope, we just gotta go home. We're done.
No, that was the one time Logan tried it. That's basically what we did. So we're going home now because you obviously cannot, if you cannot behave like a civilized human being in the grocery store, you will not be in the grocery store, and I will come back later for what we need. We got in the car and left.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you, this is a life lesson for our previous broadcast.
Yes.
If they're being screaming horrible people at them, just go.
Just go.
Do not give them the satisfaction of standing there. Just go. Because no one needs to put up with that crap.
Yeah.
And don't let them corner you.
And they'll come back and you come back and they'll apologize and love bomb you, but its behavior here doesn't change.
Yeah.
Although I did find that it was easier to take Logan grocery shopping if I let him wear a costume.
Oh, see, now that's fun.
It was
that's adorable too. I mean, everybody in the store is going to appreciate that.
So he was 5 and he had more costumes than he had regular clothes.
Yeah.
Because that's all he wanted to wear.
I support this mission.
My son at that age wanted to wear a 3-piece suit like all the time.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so Logan has had a tailored suit since he was about 7.
So, and that's one thing I really love about Logan is that he lives that.
Yeah.
It's like, why do we crush ourselves and conform ourselves away from those kinds of things?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's So
I hope having a hippie mom actually helps with that sometimes.
Yeah, it probably does.
I have encouraged him to rebel, and his version of rebelling is dressing nicer.
Dressing nice.
So,
given the state of young people's culture, that makes perfect sense to me.
It has been very interesting watching the cultural shifts in younger generations and the pushback against certain kinds of you must dress like this. I'm growing a mullet. Screw you. So, as a direct response.
This whole little delightful subculture that my girls were involved in, and now I've found YouTube videos that do it too, where they go thrifting and then they alter the clothing to what they want, and they'll either do closet cosplay with it, or they'll just straight up make new clothes out of old stuff. Yeah, and I love vintage clothing and all of that, and I love seeing it. So.
It's wonderful to see the creativity being involved and finding that you do not have to conform. No, that you wear what makes you happy.
Yep.
And don't let other people get in your face about it. So it's a good thing. How do we end up there? Anyway,
and we're revisiting some earlier broadcast topics.
We
are. You might want to bring the jar into the picture.
Okay.
All right. We were going to do a topic from the jar. You have 20 minutes.
Do you really think that we can only do 20 minutes?
If you don't like it, you can throw it back in.
Okay.
No.
That one's a 2 topic. That's a 2-hour topic anyway.
Oh. Okay.
I'm not sure why we were that specific, but
I think it was a question that was given to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question is, and since we're all looking at it in confusion, we might as well tackle it. How women can promote their business or product. And I think the reason we're all looking at this in confusion is why are we going to look at women as being different than the way a man would promote?
I mean, unless it's OnlyFans. But it would apply both ways on OnlyFans.
Actually, even then, OnlyFans,
I'm sure there goes male, female there too. I mean, and whatever floats your boat. So I don't know that there's a difference between the way a woman does it and the way a man does it. Now, I will say that because, and we've discussed this a lot, there are differences between male brains and female brains.
But it could be if you have a product specifically geared towards women.
Exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, because then you're looking at the different psychology, the different mental approach to life, which we've talked about. That as gals, we do things differently. We feel more out loud. Because we don't feel more than men.
No.
Men have feelings.
Well, men have huge emotions.
But
we're just able to be more expressive of them in public.
We emote more. Maybe that's a better way to put that.
We have permission to emote more.
So, and I think that a lot of products are marketed to women using emotions.
Well, there's a whole lot of...
The whole pink thing.
Wow, there's a whole different topic right there.
Well, yeah.
of how it's marketed to you. I mean, marketing that is pointed at me as...
Can I have your nails in front of the camera again? So I don't know why she didn't do that. The glitter on everything else, and then it realized that she has the glitter on her middle fingers. Because when I first saw it, I was like, usually if you're going to do decor, it's like staggered off on the different nails.
That's my
and then I realized,
finger.
no, those are the middle fingers. The middle fingers are glittery.
I was going to say, the middle finger applies to a lot of how things are marketed to women.
Yeah.
As there's something wrong with you and you must be shamed for it and this will fix it.
Because that's a lot of what marketing towards women is right now, it has been for a while. Is like you have a problem, and the problem is you.
Your shape is wrong. Your face is wrong. Your skin is wrong. Your hair is wrong. Your fingernails are wrong. All of it.
Well, and here's the other thing that gets marketed to women, because I just recently ran up on an article about DDT.
Oh yeah.
So the whole thing with DDT is that it does not cause cancer. It does not cause any of the health issues in humans but it was marketed as all of those things.
Yeah.
And even though there is a huge, again, a woman who promoted her
emotional bullshit.
She promoted her product really well and
for the
hit
death of millions.
All of these emotional buttons in women. And that's the thing, is it was a very feminine agenda. It was a very feminine reaction, and I see it in so many things that are now popping up with the whole chemophobia, where it's all about, oh my gosh, this could hurt my babies and it might not be safe. And I'm like, this is a very feminine reaction, and it's not based in science. It's not based in reality.
It's insulting.
It is.
Honestly, it's really insulting.
It is.
They're pushing your emotion buttons without giving you any kind of logic, and a lot of women fall for it because they've been taught to put their ability to think aside, and to think with their emotions, and that's.
Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, your feelings are valid. However, how you react to those feelings is not necessarily.
Well, it's like, am I feeling? We talked about this earlier with the coming in and getting a check.
Yeah, gut check.
Are these feelings valid?
Is this a reasonable response?
Yes.
Which is something. One of the reasons I like you two so very much is because you already know how to do that. Unlike a lot of the vipers who are attached to men that we really love. Who run purely on emotion and shame and don't logically think their way through anything.
And wouldn't ask for a gut check in the first place because they cannot possibly be wrong.
Of course not, because I feel
the ones
that way.
Rule through guilt.
Oh,
yeah.
Do not eat unearned guilt.
Nope.
Do not.
Yes.
And that's a hard lesson to learn.
We're going astray from, because now we want to talk about the positive.
Right.
How do we do this in a positive way?
Okay, so I actually do this. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I actually do have thoughts on marketing towards women. And a big part of it is because of the nature of how most women are. And I do say most women, not all women. We are social creatures, and so we require social proof. Which is why having your friends share a book that they enjoy is going to work so much better than just seeing an ad for a book.
Yeah.
Right? And so getting feedback, there's movies that I won't go see until I get reviews from like 3 or 4 different people, because then I know what I trust their responses, so I know what my response will be, so I know if I'll enjoy it. I don't give a crap about spoilers. I just want to know if I'm going to go and enjoy myself. So women marketing their products, it's harder and it's easier.
Yeah, I mean, I do this at Dickens Fair. I mean, people are like, why don't you sell your capes online? Because to me, I don't know for a fact that the person... My mantra when I talk to people about, say, I can never wear something like that, and I said, everybody has a right to feel amazing in their clothing. Everybody. Doesn't matter size, shape, age, whatever. Everyone has a right, especially women, to feel beautiful in whatever they have on. And if you don't feel good when you put a cape on, I can't, I mean, I know when I put a cape on somebody, I know if they feel amazing in it. I can see it on their face and how they do that because they've never had anybody tell them that.
And so what you're selling is you're not just selling a product. It's not just the cape. It is the experience.
I'm selling the experience
and you can't have that except
every
in
time
person.
you put this on, you're going to feel amazing and beautiful.
Yeah.
Because you have a right to feel amazing and beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and same thing when I alter clothing or something, it's like everyone has a right to feel good.
Yeah.
So,
well, I remember the first cape I bought from you.
That was
you
fun.
put it I just want to see what it looks like on. You put it on. You're like, oh, that's yours. I made that for you, obviously. And they're like,
it's yours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'd never had anything so nice.
Did the same thing to Mona Lisa.
I know.
She was like, that looks like my cape. I said, you cannot buy it offline for me. You have to put it on to make absolutely sure.
Yep.
And she put it on, and Mona Lisa can be very hard. And she turned into a giddy little 12-year-old when she pushed, I'm a princess. And I was like, yes, you are, dear. So, but that's the thing is marketing to the positive.
Yes.
Marketing to this isn't about anything being wrong with you.
Yeah.
This is about how to enhance.
Yes.
So yeah,
and,
you're right.
and it's marketing to joy.
Yes.
And that's one of the things about marketing is that it's storytelling.
Yeah, it is very much so.
Because it's very, very rare that there's a product that is so groundbreaking and vital that you absolutely have to have it. I mean, there's needs in life. There are things that you need, but you can get by on very plain, basic food that fits all of your nutritional needs.
Have you been in our kitchen? Because that's what it looks like anyway.
You'd be very scared of our ingredients.
Scary. Sorry. Didn't mean to direct the thought.
And that's the thing is that food might not be the best example in here too.
No, but it is, yeah.
But the thing is that there are stories that we tell ourselves and that turn into experiences. So when I cook a meal and I'm going to the Middle East, I want to get as close to those flavors that I can actually transport people through memories or just the sheer difference of the flavors from what they're used to. They can transport them to another place. So and food, I'm just picking food because I like to cook.
Yeah.
But when I did the cosmetics, this was one of the products I was developing, and unfortunately it'll probably never hit the market, but I was calling it the Hedge Witch Serum because it's a niacinamide, which is one of the few things that actually has proven benefits to skin as far as wrinkle, not wrinkle reduction, but it basically will just help your skin smooth out and plump up because it's actually absorbing. So it was niacinamides and milk protein peptides, which are very small. And again, the skin doesn't actually absorb all that much. The people that say that your skin absorbs 60% of the cosmetics, that's bullcrap.
No. It doesn't do that.
So it was those kinds of things, but I threw in there a whole plethora of botanicals. I can't off the top of my head remember the formula right now, but the actives were the niacinamide and the milk peptide, and what I did to add a little extra was I put a little bit of pink mica powder in it so it sparkled.
Nice. Yeah.
And I scented it with violet.
Oh,
very
nice.
old-fashioned, very English or European. But it had all of these botanical ingredients in it, and with the floral scent, just very light, very sweet, and was calling it Hedge Witch. But the story behind this is that it becomes this potion brewed by a woman who has managed to capture youth in a bottle.
Oh, I love it.
And it would have sold. I mean, it would sell if the company that I was making it for, because they owned all my formulas when I was working there, and so they own this, but that's not really their they're more of contract manufacturing, so they were making stuff for other clients.
Yeah.
But I was creating formulas that would then belong to them, that would be part of their portfolio that they could present to a client.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was doing when I was formulating every single time. Was I had the story in mind from the first list of ingredients. And that's a very, very feminine market cosmetics is.
It is.
So you have to, you're talking to women and you have that story, but you want that, the fairy tales and the emotions. And I didn't like having to appeal to the whole safety thing, because the reality is that a lot of the preservatives that are demonized in cosmetics are actually more safe than the alternatives that are being brought in.
Yeah, they are.
But because people have been convinced that there's something wrong with these preservatives, they treat them like they're radioactive and they don't want to have anything to do with them.
More of that feeling as opposed to actual thought.
Exactly. Yes. And so science communication is a really important topic to me, because I see this and it drives me absolutely batty, because I know the reality.
Yeah.
But a lot of women don't have the education to fully understand it, and they don't want to get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they letting go of being wrong because of your emotions.
Letting go of being afraid.
Being afraid. Yeah. So there's a whole other podcast right there.
Yeah.
So again, we're straying off the how do you promote, but storytelling is a big part of
storytelling.
promotion.
Is a huge thing.
Yeah. It's telling people who you are, because they're going to buy from you. Who you are,
creating an engagement with you as a person.
Why this
personal
product?
Connection.
Personal
connection.
Yeah. Why this product? What this product means to you? Why did you develop it? Why are you selling it? Why are you? Pick a reason.
And that can be difficult for a woman that isn't traditionally feminine. So someone that has autism or ADHD, and those are people that are often wildly creative and can do some really amazing engineering stuff to come up with a lovely, unique product. But then they find it really difficult to market it, because they present it like
as a solution to a problem.
As a solution to meds, which is a masculine thing. Which I like that bluntness and directness. It's very refreshing to me. But I think we've already established that we're non-traditional.
But I actually like the stories behind products. Like there's so the podcast I was listening to, coming back to that, they do, when the advertisers on there is a Sucrabelle. And they do perfumes, but they do non-traditional perfumes. It says, come to the dark side, we smell awesome. And some of their stuff is really cool. Some of it's specifically for the podcast, but it's all very, it's like the dark of the woods, or witchy woman, or stuff like that that would go with a horror podcast.
Well, I was developing a fragrance that I was calling Whiskey and Roses.
You gave me that.
Yes.
And I loved it. That was probably one of my favorite.
Really good.
Because again, with the story, and because of the non-traditional female, because there's not a lot of marketing done to the non-traditional.
No.
So
there's not a lot of marketing done to anyone over 40.
True.
Well, and that's the thing, is that we have marketing as a whole has ossified.
Yeah, it has. Well, I mean, and there is I read a lot of marketing things currently, because I'm trying to learn a lot about it. Because I did marketing before, but there's this relentless stuck between the we only market to 19 to 32. That because they have the most disposable income. Well, not anymore.
Not anymore.
I mean, so there's a whole section of women that are just lost. It's a huge market just sitting there waiting to be tapped into, because I'm sitting right in the middle of it. I mean, it's interesting how suddenly, when you have to spin the little thing for when you were born 3 or 4 times to get to your birth date, how suddenly you don't become somebody that they want as part of their marketing survey. Because but there's a huge space in there that's being ignored completely.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things that, when you get into the nitty-gritty of promoting a business or a product, it's all about getting it in front of people. And how do you do that?
Well, part of it too is know your market.
Yes.
Yeah.
Know who you're aiming it at.
Exactly, because
Figure
if
out
you
who
go
you're
too broad
first.
and too diffuse, you're not going to hit very many of your niche. So identifying the niche comes first.
Well, and one of the things that I found very helpful, one piece of advice was make an avatar of who you're selling this for.
Yeah.
Like who do you see using this product? What do they look like? What color hair do they have? How many kids do they have? Are they married? Are they single? Are they like make an avatar of who you think this person is, who is the ideal customer for your product, because your product is not for everybody. I don't care who you are. Your product is not for everybody. And it can't be. And if you try and hit everybody, you're going to diffuse your efforts, and it's not going to work.
Well, it goes back to the hierarchy of needs. There are very few needs that everyone has.
Yeah.
So, and especially when you get pretty high up on that pyramid of needs, so when we're talking about books, about entertainment, that's really high up there.
It is.
Although not as high, surprisingly, because one of the things I asked for in Mad Genius post last week was small stories, comforting stories.
Oh yeah, I love that. That was
and
great.
I'm wondering,
column, by the
and I'm
way.
going to have to go back and I loved Margaret Ball's suggestions. I promptly went up and scooped a whole bunch of those up. I was like, yes, comfort reads.
Yes.
But one of the things that I need to kind of figure out how to research, because it's difficult. So if I want to go and I want to look and see what people were actually reading during the Great Depression, there's literary lists, but that's not what I want to know.
That's not what you want.
So look at the newspapers. They had serials in the newspapers at the time.
And the pulps.
Yeah. And I know
the
there were
person
pulp
to ask about
magazines.
this,
Ben.
no, not just Ben, but Deej.
Oh, true.
Yeah, he would know where to
I
look.
wonder if I can get a guest post out of Deej.
I bet you could. Sometime next year.
Complete with a
Right.
promo thing for Ictopop at the end.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
I mean, he's doing some really fun stuff.
Yeah,
so.
Which again, with the marketing, this is something we're seeing with Deej, and the marketing is he's got that slow burn going on. If people are finding him because they're finding the books that he's putting out there, and then they find that he's got other stuff. But you can't, unless you put your stuff in front of people. And yeah, you risk rejection when you do that. But until you're putting things out there in front of people, don't just be writing for decades and sticking the stories somewhere and never sending them out for publication. You have to put yourself out, and you have to make yourself visible.
And not be afraid of negative, because a no is actually a blessing.
Yes,
Because a no has told you who your market
defines
isn't.
you. Yeah,
it defines your edge.
Right.
It's like,
and
like
the
your
worst-
keep is too expensive. You're not my target market.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, go.
Yeah.
It's like, but it's the same thing. It's like, I really don't like this book. Not that person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or I haven't picked up a book in 2 years. Okay, well, you're obviously not my target market.
Right.
Which is fine.
Okay.
And if you do read my book, great. I feel very honored.
Thank you.
But you're obviously not the person who I'm looking for. And one of the things that I've noticed is people are very afraid of no. No is a good thing.
No, it's a blessing.
But if the worst thing someone can tell you is no, guess what? Nothing has changed.
They have saved you
You now have
time.
data.
And they have saved you time.
Yes.
They've saved you time, energy, and money by telling you no. I mean, it's the best thing ever.
Because you can stop marketing to them.
Yeah.
And you can go to where
you just release and walk away. You know, I mean, it's just people need to stop. Yeah.
Well, and part of the thing about marketing online, because most of our marketing is going to be online at this point, is go where you think your avatar would be.
Yeah.
And be nice and personable. And don't and not constant buy my stuff. Like, hey, I'm going to interact because I enjoy this community. I'm going to interact because this is fun. And oh, by the way, so this thing that I did was kind of cool. Here's a picture of it, and then just let people ask for more.
So I started into this because I came out of doing the family entertainment and marketing for that, and most of the people that I was selling stuff to were women, librarians, school teachers, birthday moms. So I was selling to women a lot. Word of mouth was huge. But the other thing was just building a relationship with these women and them getting to know me and trust me and know that if they had an issue they could reach out to me and I could roll with it. But coming into selling books was a little bit different than that. But so what I did was I had a bunch of Seth Godin books.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's fantastic.
He's fantastic. The other one is if you're doing something that's gig-based, Michael Port's Book Yourself Solid, buy it. Just buy it. Or check it out from the library if you can't afford to buy it. But you want to buy it so you have it so you can make notes in it and read it and reread it. But Seth Godin's Tribes and the content marketing book, which might be called content marketing, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
She'll look while you talk.
But content marketing became my mantra. So when I was being taught how to do sales and marketing, because it definitely was not something I wanted to do or had any competency in, but I kind of got thrust into it by, we're running a business now. But I was introduced to Zig Ziglar, who I kind of liked. He's very positive, upbeat vibe, but definitely very salesy. Yeah. And it wasn't until I hit the Seth Godin stuff and the content marketing that I suddenly felt comfortable with this, which is a thing too, because if you're not comfortable with what you're selling, then you're not going to do very well with it. You need to have confidence in your product and in your approach. But with content marketing, that lets people come to you because they need something, and you have that thing that you can help them with. Yeah, Tribes is building the connections that we were talking about, and it's more of a business related thing, but it's definitely one. And then I want to say either Purple Cow or Prize Inside might be the other ones.
Yep, there's Purple Cow.
So, Purple Cow, the subtitle is Transform Your Business by Being Remarkable. So it's doing something to stand out. That's what the Purple Tribe is. And
this is marketing you can't be seen until you learn to see. That's, I
haven't got that one. I may have to pick that one up. But Seth Godin's podcast was a little iffy. I was trying to listen to it, but his books are solid. And I have really enjoyed them over the years.
All marketers tell stories.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
And if you look at, so one of the things I was, when I was first learning how to do marketing, but as I was getting deeper into it, there was one, there's a book from the 70s, and I'll have to find it and put the link in the notes, that was about how to write ad copy. And if you remember, like the page long ads from the 70s that are in magazines, so you get the picture, and then you've got this whole description of what the product is, and it was how to write those, and it broke down each line and every paragraph that you had to have in there of how they work and what they do, and you're telling a story about a product.
Yeah.
Every time you write those, you're telling a story about a product. Yes. Now, as we've gotten to smaller content, the tweets and the Facebook posts.
Do it in 140 characters
right.
now. Yeah.
But it's still the same concept, and it's still the same storytelling.
Completely.
So these 50-word stories are probably good practice for people.
They're fantastic for that.
They're fantastic for so much.
And it's the same thing with a book blurb. So if you're selling stories, you have to tell a short story that doesn't give away the story, but it tells enough of the story to hook the reader.
Yep.
So, and I have referred to it as seducing the readers, because that's really what it is you're bringing them into a relationship. And there's a really funny little graphic I found recently that is probably not going to show up on the camera really well, but we can try. But basically, that's the dilemma of all of us. You have that book hangover of you've just gotten through this whole emotional relationship with this book, and you're done reading it, and then the next one comes along and seduces you into reading them. So
I think seduction is a great place to stop.
Yeah.
So for how women can promote their business or product is you're going to be seducing your audience.
Which does not mean that you're going to be sexual.
No.
Because just because sex sells, you don't actually have to use it, and sometimes it's counterproductive.
Yeah.
So
that's a whole other conversation. We could go on about this one a lot.
Right.
Yeah, we could. We may have to hold on to this.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's an interesting topic to just even start
back in the jar.
It's going back in the jar.
We will hit it again.
We'll do that one again.
So, yes, hopefully that was informative, entertaining.
We wandered all over this time.
Yeah. We did.
Mm-hmm. That's part of what we do, though.
Yeah. I think we needed a wander, though.
Yeah. We've had some intense, ranty ones.
We're in that state today. We're kind of like wandering. as we wander, we find interesting things. So
we don't have any book releases this weekend.
no, we don't. We
Okay.
have the first of the Sparrow Chronicles is coming out in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 weeks. August has been pretty intense. We have 3 books this month. So
And we have a signing for a friend
we have a
in
signing
San Antonio.
in San Antonio,
Yep.
so we're all gonna, and of course, Spurgle One comes out that weekend. So
Cool.
yeah, we're all running down to San Antonio to hang out with Rob Hampson and
And so if any of you
Do his
listening
Nauticon.
are in the San Antonio area, you should definitely come and
Courtney and
buy
I will
Rob's
be there
book.
for sure. And
Yep.
yeah, and I believe Jim is coming down. Jim Curtis. I don't know about Ian and Rita yet, but
And I may not be able to go. So
yeah,
Yeah.
because life is
Yep.
what it
Life.
is.
I'm the stay-at-home mom.
You're the stay-at-home mom.
But we'll see the what they call themselves, the South Texas Troubleshooters.
Yes.
Yes.
Our gang down. And Chris will be there, so you can lick him. And we can meet his wife.
I'm
Speaking of
so glad I get to do this one.
Of new authors. On that note,
I think it's time to go.
Yes. Thank you so much for hanging out with
Thanks
us
for hanging
today.
out.
We'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.